Hello, everybody. Welcome into GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast. I am your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today is Tuesday, March 25th. Hope everybody had a great day so far. We have a big story for you. Breaking news in the last hour out of the NFL. Russell Wilson, the newest New York Giant, as well as news as a new wide receiver, has joined the Patriots. We'll talk about all of that and a lot of baseball season preview, finishing up all four teams left later on in the show. But before we do, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. Or if you're on YouTube, you can use that super chat feature. If you do either of those two things, a message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. If you do have a burning question about sports, anything at all that you would like to ask, go ahead and throw that in the comments. Throw it in the chat. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. I appreciate everybody so much for sticking around, talking some sports with me here on a beautiful Tuesday, March 25th. But like I was saying, and the New York Giants. Russell Wilson is the next quarterback of the Giants, and this one is a little interesting. We take a look at what has happened so far with the Giants this offseason. They have been very busy in the quarterback market. They were one of the highest bidders on a potential Matthew Stafford trade. They were the team that gave up on Aaron Rodgers this quickest, it seems like. They were big on Aaron Rodgers to begin with, the one that really kind of started this whole Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes as well. Then they were the first out of the teams in the Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes to go out and make a move. They've been rumored a lot of different things as far as the quarterback position goes, especially since the hot seat very much is on when it comes to their GM and head coach. Joe Schoen, Brian Daboll, they're both very much on the hot seat this season. They need to go out and get some success. So what they've done is hedged their bets as many times as they possibly can. They started off last weekend by going out and getting Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston, a fire thrower who will just be a gunslinger, right? He'll throw 5 touchdowns, but he'll throw 5 interceptions. Not really something that's generally going to win you too many games. Now they've gone out and brought in Russell Wilson. Now, in my mind, this kind of gets rid of the possibility that the Giants are going to going to draft a quarterback at number 3. There are obviously chances that they go and do that instead. In fact, there's been a rumor out there started by Adam Schefter on the Pat McAfee show where he said there's a real possibility that the Giants bring in Russell Wilson, which, as we see, they've just done in a 1-year deal up to $21 million with $10.5 of it guaranteed, presumably the starter over Jameis Winston, but then also draft Shedeur Sanders or a quarterback at 3. Now, this doesn't make any sense to me. I understand that Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll want to save their jobs, but the best way to save your job is to build a good team. Right? And you're not going to build up a good team by spending a top 3 pick on a quarterback, signing 2 stopgap quarterbacks instead of just 1. You needed to do one or the other. You needed to just roll with Jameis Winston as a stopgap quarterback, not sign Jameis Winston and just sign Russell Wilson and draft Shedeur Sanders, or bring both of those guys in to have a quarterback competition and not draft a quarterback at 3. It's fine if you want to draft a quarterback in the later rounds. If you see a Jalen Milroe or a Quinn Ewers or a Will Howard or a Tyler Shaw or something like that deeper in the later rounds that you like, go ahead and get them. Bring in a Kyle McCord in round 4, round 5, round 6. But if with 2 quarterbacks on the roster, both who have ideas of starting for this New York Giants team, it would be awful team building to spend a resource as good as the 3rd overall pick that, in all likelihood, is going to land you either Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter if you let it land you that. Instead, would waste it on a quarterback that would be 3rd string in this system, 4th string potentially in this system, depending on how it goes. That would make absolutely 0 sense. Now, in a vacuum, this Russell Wilson move doesn't stink, right? Russell Wilson was solid last year for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's someone that can come in and won't mess things up too much. He's there on a 1-year deal. Jameis Winston is there on a 2-year deal. So both of them are fitting into that bridge quarterback role. Older veterans, not going to be franchise guys, but are going to be there. Russell Wilson, for a long time in his career, has talked about going to New York. Russell Wilson has talked about going to New York for a very long time. He was drafted by the Yankees in the MLB draft before deciding to go and play in the NFL when the Seahawks drafted him in the 6th round, right? Completely fine, but he's had ties the whole time over to New York, the Yankees, the Giants, stuff like that. Now he officially makes it over. After a long time on the West Coast and a quick stop over in Pittsburgh, the Giants bring him in. The question is he going to start? And I think the answer is yes. I think he's going to start over Jameis Winston, but it's not going to be a long leash, right? We saw this situation last year with Russ and Justin Fields, and I think it's a very similar situation. Coaching staff is going to name Russ the starting quarterback, whether or not he's ready at the beginning of the season. Maybe that gives Jameis a chance to prove himself like Justin Fields did. Maybe it's going to be the opposite, where Russell Wilson isn't working, they switch to Jameis for some juice. But if they end up drafting a quarterback at 3, which there still is a likelihood that they can, that would be the biggest blunder that we have seen made in a very long time. Not because Shedeur Sanders is bad. Not because the quarterbacks in this class aren't worth taking at number 3, which they probably aren't, but because you don't need 4 quarterbacks. And the team like the Giants that needs as much help as they possibly can. They cannot waste more resources at the quarterback position than they already have. Just take best available. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. What's up, Bold Up? Good to see you in there. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. The other major news in the NFL has to do with Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs, a 4-time Pro Bowl wide receiver, all-pro wide receiver, officially has a new home. He signs with the New England Patriots. Drake May gets his first real weapon. The Patriots brought in Mac Hollins earlier on this offseason on a 2-year, $10 million deal. Now they get a guy who, granted, tore his ACL about midway through last season, week 8 with the Texans. He negotiated himself out of a long deal with the Texans, joins with the Patriots, 3 years, $69 million. Drake May's number 1 wide receiver until potentially the wide receiver they take in the draft coming up. But right now, getting him weapons is a great move. I've loved what the Patriots offseason has been so far. The Patriots have done a very good job addressing the defense, paid a little bit of attention to the offensive line, getting some veterans in there as well. They were able to help out now Drake May getting a massive weapon, and there's still a lot of great older wide receivers, veteran running backs still available to complete the turnaround of what was a pretty bad offense, but you just need to continue to surround Drake May with weapons so that he has guys to build a career around. I really like both of these moves. Russell Wilson should be the starter for the Giants, and I think post-ACL, Stephon Diggs still has some life in him, although I'm not sure if he's ever going to get back to an all-pro level like he was when he was with the Bills and the Vikings. But again, love to hear your thoughts on any of this. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, baseball season right around the corner. We have 4 more teams to go through. We're going to take a look at all 4 teams coming up today, starting off with the New York Yankees. That's coming up next here on GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits, some losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip, you choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
Welcome back to GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast. I am your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today is Tuesday, March 25th. If you were just tuning in, going over the many signings in the NFL. Russell Wilson to the New York Giants. Diggs to the New England Patriots. 3 years, $69 million for him. 1 year deal for Russell Wilson. In this segment, we turn our attention to the great sport of baseball. Baseball right around the corner. Opening pitch in the U.S. is on Thursday. We have 4 teams to get through, and we're going to finish off our show going over all 4 teams, finishing out the AL East, starting off with the World Series losing New York Yankees. An even bigger part of the show than you already are. All you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. Or if you're on YouTube, you can use that super chat feature. If you do either of those 2 things, a message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. If you do have a burning question about sports, anything at all that you would like to ask, go ahead and throw that in the comments. Throw it in the chat. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. Real quick, before we get into the Yankees, though, we do have some breaking news. Breaking news in the NBA. Getting a little bit off topic here. We have bad news. Not great news. Not great news, unfortunately. Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard is out indefinitely with a blood clot in his right calf. Same thing that Victor Wembanyama has. This really sucks heading into the playoffs. The Bucks obviously were a team that was right in the mix there. The Bucks, a team that was trying to get back Giannis, becoming a threat to be unhappy in Milwaukee. Already something that we saw when they started off the season very slow. But the Bucks right now sitting at 5th in the conference, only half a game's up on the Detroit Pistons for that 6th spot, only 5 games up, on the Hawks right now for that first playoff spot, first play-in spot. That's not a good look. Right now, with 11 games to go, there's a chance Milwaukee could fall all the way out of the playoffs and into the play-in. Not a good look for them. Obviously, we hope that the blood clots get figured out. That is something that has ended careers in the NBA for Damian Lillard. But this is a brutal blow to a Bucks team that was starting to figure stuff out, right? This was a Bucks team that over their last couple of weeks had been solid, right? This is a team that made some moves at the trade deadline, including moving off of Chris Middleton, trading for Kyle Kuzma. Now they get the awful news, and it's back to just Giannis carrying this team. They had a bad loss yesterday that didn't quite go their way, and now this for Damian Lillard. The Bucks are falling apart, and maybe it's time to think about blowing it up. We'll see. But getting back on topic here, we're talking a little bit about the New York Yankees. The New York Yankees made it all the way to the World Series last year, right on the doorstep of a pennant. It would have been their first one since 2009, a very long time since the Bronx Bombers held that World Series trophy, the Commissioner's Trophy. It's been a while. They were able to get past the Royals in the ALDS 3-1, the Guardians 4-1 in the ALCS, making their way through those AL Central teams. They went 94-78, won their division, had one of the best records in all of baseball, but lost to the World Series, of course, to the Dodgers. We remember how this happened. The duo of Soto and Judge was near unstoppable until they ran into the trio at the top of the Dodgers order of Shohei, Mookie Betts, and Freddie Freeman, along with everybody else on that pitching staff. A disastrous 5th inning ended their season, and was a huge reason why their season ended. They had a brutal offseason, and really the spring training has been kind of brutal to them. Injuries are starting to become the main story for them. They brought in some solid talent. Max Fried gave a massive contract to. They gave Paul Goldschmidt a big contract as well to come in. Ryan Yarborough, they signed him, as well as Tim Hill. A couple guys to bring in for pitching help: Carlos Carrasco, Tyler Matzik, Jonathan Losiaga. these guys come in and can help a little bit, have shown some solid mid bullpen area stuff, but really the main signing for them was Max Fried and bringing in Paul Goldschmidt to replace Anthony Rizzo at first base. They made a couple trades as well, and this is where the big additions of the offseason came. They gave up their catcher Jose Trevino for relief pitcher Fernando Cruz and catcher Alex Jackson. But they also brought in Cody Bellinger for Cody Petit with the Cubs and Devin Williams, one of the best closers in the game, to get into the back end of their bullpen. They gave up Caleb Durbin, starting pitcher Nestor Cortez, and some cash for him for the Brewers. That's going to hurt a little bit more now that the strength of starting pitching continues to get a little bit weaker. They lost John Birdie, Tommy Canali, Tim Maeza, Clay Holmes, Gleyber Torres, Lou Trevino, Juan Soto, of course, was the big loss, and Alex Verdugo. When you take a look at the way that this season has gone, or this preseason has gone, really, injuries have been the big story, especially on the pitching staff. Garrett Cole, done for the season with Tommy John. Luis Gil is injured. Clark Schmidt injured. JT Brubaker injured. All starters. You take a look at the projected starting rotation. You've got Carlos Rodon and Max Fried at the top. Marcus Stroman, not really a guy you really want at 3. Will Warren and Carlos Carrasco rounding it out. That is a weaker rotation than they expected it to be, right? They would have had They would have had Garrett Cole and Luis Gil on there, maybe even Clark Schmidt ahead of some of these guys, but instead, you're stuck with what you got now that injuries have hit. But it's not just the pitching staff that is getting injured, right? We're talking about a lineup that's been hit with injuries as well. Giancarlo Stanton out for the rest of the season, potentially. DJ LeMahieu also suffering an injury. You look at a lineup now consisting of Austin Wells at catcher, Aaron Judge hitting second, Cody Bellinger behind him at third, Paul Goldschmidt hitting fourth, Jazz Chisholm fifth, Anthony Volpe, Jason Dominguez, Ben Rice, and Oswaldo Cabrera. It's not that bad of a top of a lineup. Judge, Bellinger, Goldschmidt, Chisholm, Volpe, Dominguez, if they can all go into form like we expect them to, especially with Aaron Judge being one of the best hitters in the history of baseball, moving out of center field playing right is going to be pretty big for him. Less defensive responsibility, something that he's looking forward to, but he's a guy that could hit 70, 80 home runs this year if he's able to stay healthy. But that's been the issue for the Yankees. They've been unable to stay healthy all season